But now a rare treat for me, and I hope for you as well, because each and every Friday we touch base with the main man when it comes to all matters movie-related. It's our mate Van Connor, and he's got 1, 2, 3 small screen recommendations of big screen offerings. Yep, it's the cinematic experience in your own front room, free gratis and for nothing. He brings 3 to the table. I've also got a packet of 3 for you for the weekend. And let's say good morning and welcome back to Van right now. Good morning, Van, and how the devil are you? So how was your week, Van?
It's been a very good week, Paul. Thank you. I'm happy to be back with a whole new decade to spare.
And you are starting with a film that I absolutely love. Tell us about your first recommendation. It's on tonight. It's only Baby Driver.
9 p.m. Sony Movies. It's this is the thing, because Edgar Wright kind of disappeared off the map for a little while after he finished off the Cornetto trilogy with End of the World. There was the whole thing he was going to be doing Ant-Man for the Marvel Universe, and then there was some controversy around that. He was he was either let go or he quit, depending on who you ask. You watch the film, and he's still credited as one of the writers on it, but he went away. He went away for a couple of years, and he came back with this absolute belter of a heist tale, which is just fueled by just this playlist that you can't possibly imagine, including things like bell bottoms and Egyptian reggae, and starring the likes of John Bernthal, Kevin Spacey, John Hamm, and of course Ansel Elgort as Baby, the driver who has to team up with this cabal of sort of general sort of heist types, who seeks a way out of it, finds the love of his life in the form of Lily James, but finds himself on the run from them. I've got a clip for you.
So you're a mute, baby? Is that what it is? Are you a mute? No. So, what are you listening to? Music.
That's right. You tell him, baby.
Shh.
For God's sakes, Griff. Leave the kid alone.
You can't just be in crime, right? Not without being a little criminal. I just want to find out what's going on between those ears. Aside, of course, from Egyptian reggae.
Oh, Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers, what's not to love? The great thing about this film is it's got that kind of wonderful crossover dialogue Tarantino thing going on, but an amazing linear story. I mean, the kind of heist in this is fantastic.
Well, absolutely. And for me as well, one of the big things about it as well is the practical effects of this, the visual effects. They're all practical, the car sequences and things like that. The driving in it is genuinely outstanding. I think in years to come, this is going to get mentioned alongside films like Bullet as one of the great motoring films, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So that's a biggie. It's tonight. To remind us what channel it's on, please. Sony Movies, isn't it, you said, I think?
This is Sony Movies at 9 p.m. tonight. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be rewatching it because I haven't seen it in a couple of years, and it's a hell of a ride.
Well, I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to record my recommendation, which starts either at 9 or 10 o'clock, depending whether you watch it on ITV4 or ITV4+1. It's the 6th entry into the Rocky saga. Now, Sylvester Stallone said that he was a bit negligent on the rather poor Rocky 5. He really, in my opinion, bounces back with Rocky Balboa. He stars in it. He wrote it. He directed it. It cost, I think, $24 million. It made over $150 million. There were other, the Creed sequels followed this as well. I love this movie. And in this, there's been a kind of weird statistical contest which says that Rocky Balboa is the greatest of all time, which kind of upsets a young up-and-comer. Let's have the trailer.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Who was the greatest? Who was the best of all time? If two athletes from different eras could actually compete against one another, who would come out on top? In one corner, the reigning champion Mason the Line Dixon. He'll be pitted against the former two-time heavyweight champion Rocky Balboa. Computer says Rocky Balboa would be triumphant.
I think there's still some stuff in the basement.
What basement?
In here. I think I want to, fight. Nothing big, small stuff, locally.
What are you trying to prove, Pop?
I thought you might want to get involved.
Don't you think you're too, old?
I think your brain's losing altitude.
You heard Rocky Balboa applied for a license. You want me to fight a guy that I can beat with both hands tied behind my back?
That computer fight got a lot of people curious.
Yeah, but I ain't interested in getting, mangled and embarrassed.
People are going to think you're going crazy.
What's crazy about standing toe-to-toe saying I am?
It's far-fetched, but it is fantastic. Did you enjoy this one when you saw it, Van?
Oh, I absolutely love this. And it is based on, there is a historical parable this is based on. It's based on, is it Muhammad Ali? And I forget who the other contender was. It was based on a simulation that predicted that Muhammad Ali would beat someone else.
Right.
And that's where they've drawn the inspiration from. I think it's a brilliant film, as I think all the Rocky films in their own unique ways are brilliant. And Stallone, to be fair to him, is actually a pretty decent director and a better writer.
Well, that's, I mean, the sad thing, I think, in some ways, not that he worries, but only because he's given us some iconic films, some great 80s mad movies like Cobra and that kind of but he also created the whole Rocky franchise. He's brilliant in Rambo First Blood, and he made a couple of early films which are, if you've not seen, one is called Fist, F-I-S-T, Federal Interstate Truckers, and a film called Paradise Alley, set in kind of Depression era in New York and involving wrestling. Fantastic film. And they never get shown on the telly, those. They're brilliant movies.
You know what does get shown, though, and I will always absolutely love this, is there is an episode of Quantum Leap in which Sam leaps into a gym in the 70s, shuts a locker, and there's a writer who sort of takes his story and S. Stallone on the locker. That will stay with me until the day I die.
Brilliant stuff. And you've got a rather different film for us for tomorrow, you old softy you. No one puts Van Connor in the corner because he carried a watermelon. It's Dirty Dancing, isn't it, Van?
Well, what can you say about it? I will say this. I did not like Dirty Dancing very much until this year, okay? I rewatched it this year for the first time in a few years, and I think finally got it. I've seen the horrible 2017 remake with Sarah Hyland and Nicole Scherzinger and Deborah Messing, and believe me, that is an absolute abomination of an attempt. This film, though, I do think there is something special. I think Secret Cinema are doing an actual Dirty Dancing event again this year, which I urge everyone to go and see. Apparently the last one was incredible. It is, of course, a story of Baby Houseman goes with her family on retreats to Kellerman's Resort in the Catskills, and there she meets Johnny, played by the one and only Patrick Swayze, who, of course, is, the big dreamboat with the rolled-up sleeves, the black T-shirt. He teaches her to dance, but he also teaches her about life itself, as you'll hear in this clip.
They fired you anyway because of me.
And if I leave quietly, I'll get my son a bonus.
So I did it for nothing. I hurt my family. You lost your job anyway. I did it for nothing.
No, not for nothing, baby. Nobody has ever done anything like that for me before.
You were right, Johnny. You can't win no matter what you do.
You listen to me. I don't want to hear that from you. You can.
I used to think so.
Now, people forget it's quite a dark film as well. I mean, Baby's dad's a doctor who looks after a girl who's had an abortion. I mean, it's a grittier film than you might think from just remembering the dancing.
No, it's absolutely. I mean, the thing you forget as well is that he does seem to be significantly older than her. There is that sort of that emergence into womanhood, literally brought writ by the idea that he kind of is a young adult rather than a teenager.
Sure.
I think it's more of a genuine star-making turn for Swayze than we sort of remember it being. We have this impression that he was already a star at that point, but even though he'd been in a few films, you look at things like Red Dawn.
Oh, I love Red Dawn. That's a John Milius movie, isn't it? That's a great film, Red Dawn.
Is it Milius? Because I would have
Milius, yeah. The remake was pants for matching bra, but the original is fantastic. 80s, late Cold War paranoia, isn't it? A great movie.
You get me Swayze and Charlie Sheen in the same movie, you got my attention, sir.
Okay, so that's Dirty Dancing. And when's this on again? Remind us when it's on again, Van.
So this is on 5-star, 7 p.m. on Saturday.
Okay, well, I've got something also at 7 o'clock. In fact, it starts at 7:05. It's on the Paramount Network, and it's one of the great 90s, 50s westerns. It was a kind of ahead of its time, regarded as being overly violent at the time, directed by the great Robert Aldrich, who went on to make things like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, The Dirty Dozen. It's Veracruz with Gary Cooper, Burt Lancaster, also in supporting roles, Charles Bronson, Ernest Borgnine, Jack Elam, and even the Joker himself, Cesar Romero. It was an amazingly successful film, this. Okay, so it's about some people looking for gold down Mexico way. Quite savage. Burt Lancaster's this kind of smiling psychopath who at one point threatens to murder some child hostages. It's a brilliant film, made a lot of money, was huge in France. They sold 4.5 million tickets for this in France. Huge, I know, huge hit film. I love it. 7:05 tomorrow night, Paramount Network. It's Veracruz. Go for your 6 guns.
Gary Cooper and Burt Lancaster, the quiet man and the gunslinger, fighting side by side, and each other. Denise Darcel, alluring, free with a kiss or a caress.
Father, you're born American, but at heart you're French.
And Cesar Romero, was he friend or enemy? And introducing an exciting new screen discovery, Sarita Montiel, temptress and tease, who entices Gary Cooper into her web of intrigue. Veracruz, filmed entirely in Mexico, a motion picture that stands alone in its breathless excitement. Veracruz, unique in the annals of screen entertainment.
Come on, that's the way you sell a film, isn't it? You've got to love those 50s trailers. That's a cracking... Have you seen Veracruz ever, man?
I actually have. I was very
Great
young
film.
at the time. My grandmother showed it me, but yeah, they don't make
cheers, mate.
like
Cheers, mate. your grandmother was a woman of rare taste, distinction and beauty there. She liked that film. There was even talk of a sequel they were going to call There Really Was a Gold Mine, but like a lot of those projects, it never kind of quite happened. But a big influence on Sam Peckinpah. And let me carry on now with my Sunday morning recommendation. You can catch it either at 11 a.m. Sunday morning or midday if you watch Film 4 plus 1. So it's Film 4 or Film 4 plus 1. It's the fifth in the Carry On saga. It's my favourite of the early Carry On, shot in black and white. It's got all the usual suspects in it, of course. Kenneth Williams, Charles Hawtrey, Kenneth Connors in it, and Stanley Unwin, the professor who speaks the gobbledygook, turns up in it. It's Carry On regardless. Basically, Sid James, Hattie Jakes have set up a kind of job agency, and they want people of many and multi-talents to carry on regardless. Here's the trailer.
See Joan Sims, the toast of a wine-tasting party. Yes, they're all here. The Jackson Jills of all trades.
Disgraceful. A load of drunks.
Below it, Liz Fraser, Terence Longdon, Kenneth Williams, a chump who's personal companion to a chimp.
Can you take us to...
I'll take you, but not your brother.
I beg your pardon. We've had a long walk and we're very tired.
Why don't you climb in a tree and have a kip?
Only one thing remains to be said. Carry on.
It was directed, of course, as all the carry-ons were, by Gerald Thomas, produced by Peter Rogers, but it was the first six were written by a man called Norman Hoodis, who wrote that one, then Talbot Rothwell took over. Norman went on to the States, and he was from Stepney, originally in London, and he wrote things like Man from U.N.C.L.E., Wild Wild West, Hawaii Five-0. Great and underrated screenwriter, and this is a lovely old film. And also you get that fantastic sense of what London, around Elstree Studio, or wherever where they filmed it was, in the days when not everybody had a motor car. It's just so quiet looking, fantastic slice of social history as well. I love this movie.
Well, as I say, it is a slice of life from just a time long gone by, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to say as well, I mean, it's astounding to me that I play the roulette wheel with you every week, Paul, just to see which carry-on film you could possibly...
which Western? There's always a Western and a carry-on film. I've got to break that mould. Listen, let's end with yours, because this, I think, is an underrated gem you've reminded us about. It's Death Becomes Her. Bruce Willis is in this, isn't he?
This is the thing with this film. So I was talking to Rebecca Perfect earlier about this film, and she told me it was one of her favourite films, and the conversation we had was, oh my God, it's one of my favourites as well. It seems to be a film that resonates with, I think, people who were children at a certain point, who saw this film back when Hollywood comedies were a very different thing, who just seem to have embraced it and loved it and taken it into adulthood as this modern classic. And I find this through a lot of family members and things like that. So this is 1992. This is directed by Robert Zemeckis. I didn't know that when I was a kid. Stars the likes of Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, who I had a huge thing for even when I was a child, Bruce Willis, and Isabella Rossellini, who I have a huge thing for as an adult.
Yeah. Blue Velvet and One from the Heart. What's not to love? Fantastic.
Exactly that. She's a Bristow, what's not to love? So the idea here is, of course, that Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis are a couple in, I think, the 1970s. They meet her old college roommate, who is now an actress, Meryl Streep. She's the young starlet. She's gorgeous. She's got it going on. Bruce Willis leaves her for the starlet. Flash forward 20 years to sort of the present day of 1992. Meryl Streep is now, middle-aged, as is Bruce Willis. Goldie Hawn somehow instantly becomes young and beautiful, rather like Goldie Hawn. And it turns out there may be a secret behind it, as this clip will demonstrate.
You must make me a promise. The secret that we share must never become public. You may continue your career for 10 years of perfect, unchanged beauty. But at the end of that time, before people become suspicious, You have to disappear from public view forever. You can retire. You can stage your own phony death. Or, as one of my clients simply said, I want to be alone.
No, she's not. Wow.
Great film, that is. And again, it reminded me a bit in tone of War of the Roses. It was a kind of uncertain black comedy about it. So remind us when we can see that one on Sunday, Van.
On Sunday, you'll be able to see this on Channel 5. You'll be able to see this at 3:50 in the afternoon, because it is quite, I think it's a PG or a 12. So it's one that you can show in the afternoon. I would have thought it was a little bit more adult than that, but I think that's the benefit of childhood hindsight, I think.
Listen, if I can recommend a Carry On Sunday morning, you can recommend Death Becomes on Sunday afternoon, Van. Remind people where can hear your cinematic musings and see you in animated form.
Cinematic musings, you can hear me on podcast platforms every Friday morning on the Off-Screen Show with Rebecca Perfect, and as of tomorrow, you'll be able to see me on YouTube on the rebooted Me Movies show, where I'll be reviewing 1917, and you'll like this, Paul, the Gene Seberg movie, Seberg.
Oh, fantastic stuff. I think they've made an opera about Gene Seberg's rather tragic life, but looking forward to that. Looking forward to our Friday conversation with the great man himself, Van Connor. Van the man. Do follow him on Twitter as well. It's Van_Connor, and hear him each and every Friday with me, Paul Ross, on talkSPORT. Extra Time. Carry on regardless.
Extra Time with Paul Ross.